Bitcoin is sort of here to stay. Ethereum as a platform people are building on is here to stay.
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree there is a kind of, well, there's an anxiousness, like, okay, what are the rules going to be, or what, how do we get through that? I think the other piece to this, though, is I think it's very easy to get kind of grounded in a very U.S.-centric view of the world. What are the U.S. regulators doing? What's happening in U.S. markets? But as we know, digital assets are extraordinarily global. The demand and interest in them comes from highly global audiences. And in fact, when you think about the drivers in many cases, rising interest rates, a strong dollar is actually disruptive to many currencies, sovereign debt issuers, geopolitical uncertainty also increasing. And so the kind of conditions within which one would be interested in a non-sovereign digital commodity is still there.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And guys, we have Jeremy from Circle speaking about the power of stablecoins. And we know the government has been moving USDC to Venezuela, Ukraine. So we know it's one of the chosen ones. But he speaks about how strong the dollar is hurting the emerging markets, and that's where stable coins come into play.
Yeah, there's a lot in that. So I think in the West and in most developed markets or kind of market centers, there's a lot of movement on this. And in fact, the U.S. is one of the last to move. So the EU, comprehensive. The U.K., comprehensive. Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, UAE, a lot of these places are providing legislation. Right. The legislative bodies are doing the work. It's work to say, okay, what are these statutes going to be?
They haven't all signed up for exactly the same. They haven't signed up for the same thing, and some of them have not voted on all this stuff in the right way. I mean, not in the right way, just at all. There's been stuff that's been proposed.
Sure. Well, in the EU, it's right. Rolling through, and in the UK, it's imminent, right? I guess my point is, there is a very clear path towards regulatory kind of frameworks on this, and that's only going to come further and faster. And I think, in fact, in the U.S., there's total consensus that, for example, my business of these payment stablecoins, as the government is describing these, like, there are bills, they're going to work their way through Congress. It's a bipartisan issue. We will see that. There's a lot of other things happening in Congress, and so there's the American political dysfunction, and what can you actually legislate. So, but I think that's there. But I agree with you, like, that has to happen before.
But what has to happen to create the inflection point for that to happen? Because we've been talking for 5 years, not as long as I've known you, because I've known you from the Bright Star days and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's called Bright Star? No.
Bright Cove.
Bright Cove days. Yeah. What is the thing that's going to happen that's going to shift the balance?
Yeah. Well, I think some of it has happened, which is basically things blew up. And, people talk a lot about it. I mean, back when the White House and everyone said it's urgent that Congress act because there could be, bad things could happen. There could be runs and all this stuff. And guess what happened?
Right.
Things melted down, the runs and so on. And so I think that impetus is there.
And we hear Jeremy talking about how the United States are one of the last ones to come in with some type of regulation. And guys, we know it's all done on purpose. You're watching nothing but a movie. It started with Jay Clayton and then moved to Gary Gensler, kicking the regulation can down the road. And for one reason, guys, remember, stablecoins and CBDCs are illegal in Europe and in the United States. So just like in 1913, they're going to use the up-and-coming crisis to push legislation through so they can make stable coins and CBDCs legal. Guys, remember, blockchain gives the NWO the all-seeing eye.
I guess it's a quantum leap to think that you get to where the human is actually not needed anymore. And one more, you mentioned, I said maybe our jobs are gone. You remember what year Max Headroom came out, Sorkin? Remember Max Headroom?
Yes, I wouldn't say in the early 80s.
1985. So we're still here, All right. If he was, how long ago is that? I can't. If I had, without a computer, I could come up with that number. But it's been that long, Siddall. I'm still here.
You're
talking
still here.
head.
Every technological revolution has created more jobs than it has destroyed. But what's happening now is we're in the exponential age. Upskilling, reskilling, rethinking how work gets done has never been more urgent. And so what this means is our jobs are not going to go away as we think that they're going to be disappearing and that these machines are going to take over. These machines and these tools are going to be part of how we do work. And so we need to think statistically. We need to think about scaling. We need to think about reach. That's what all of this is about, upskilling and updating business models.
And guys, will AI take most jobs? What did Jerome Powell say at the beginning of every single video? What did Andrew Yang say before every single video? Guys, remember the third industrial revolution, you work with the machines. And the fourth industrial revolution, the machines take over. We've heard it from Ray Kurzweil. We've heard it from Ben Goertzel. And we know the ultimate goal, transhumanism, where you become part machine. And remember, the Cryptoteacher told you.
We're at a pivotal moment, right? Because Anthony Blinken has said that they have intelligence. He's our Secretary of State, has said that there's intelligence which indicates China is considering lethal aid to Russia.
Right.
That would be a significant escalation.
So is that the red line, though?
What is the red line? The president has said it's a red line. It would certainly accelerate a decoupling that we have been watching.
But what
and
does the
it would lead to
like?
more sanctions.
But if you're, in the business context, if you're Apple, if you're Nike, if you're Starbucks, if you're name your company that does a big chunk of business in China, does somebody in the U.S. say you guys got to get out? In the same way they said you got to get out of Russia, you got to get out of China.
There are two very significant things happening right now in Washington, D.C. There is a process for starting to control outbound U.S. dollars to China. Right. Outbound investment controls. That has accelerated. That is something we have not done before. This is something that people call reverse CFIUS. Most people know what CFIUS is.
Yep. We're blocking China from coming here.
Right, that's the
committee. Blocking our own people from going there.
Right, exactly. We tell Chinese companies they can't buy this, that, or the other thing, and now we could be saying, the U.S. government could be saying to U.S. investors, you cannot put your dollars in China. That is controlling outbound investment flows. That would be significant, and it is something that all of the regulators, all of the lobbyists in Washington are watching for, because it would be very, very difficult and significant. And we don't know the scope of it. It's a two-pronged process that's happening right now. There's a potential executive order that's being worked on because they're trying to decide what the scope of it will be. The executive order is happening because members of the legislature, Chuck Schumer and John Cornyn, both signed a letter, opposite sides of the aisle, asking Biden to do an executive order until they could get legislation to do this control U.S. dollars. This is a very big deal. It will accelerate.
But is there a risk premium in the market right now for U.S. multinational businesses that have a good-sized chunk of their business in China right now? It doesn't seem to me. I mean, this market has not moved based on the China-Russia situation as I've seen it, at least recently.
Right. Are you seeing a depression in values as a result of that? No, I mean, in fact.
And should there be?
It's hard to say because we've been waiting for this action to happen. And look how long we've been waiting to see them do something on TikTok, which has been promised for a long time.
How do you put together the two opposite things? Number one, that we supposedly have intelligence that China's getting ready to supply.
Number two,
he's got a peace plan. that he's proposing? Do they want to end the war or do they want to supply weapons to the war? Which do they want?
Oh, the peace plan is to try to improve their standing with the West, right? I had a conversation with a very senior European diplomat just this week who said they have been in meetings with Wang Yi and they have repeatedly said, we will not supply lethal weapons to Russia. We haven't and we will not. And the senior foreign diplomat felt that China is extremely embarrassed by what happened. We're listening to national security folks in the last couple of weeks. They're saying that Putin lied to Xi Jinping to his face before the invasion, and that Xi Jinping is angry, obviously embarrassed, and this war is not going well. The bottom line is, Xi Jinping's red line is, according to these folks, is that Putin's got to stay in power. So why would Xi Jinping be thinking about lethal aid now versus the last time it was considered, we're told, in March, because of Russia's potential loss in the war?
I'm trying to get the pulse of.
Hey, Joe. Well, the Foreign Ministry already unveiled that proposal, which it says is based on Xi Jinping's thought. Now, this 12-point plan calls for a ceasefire and is basically a reiteration of the principles that the Chinese government has raised before on Ukraine, stressing, for example, the importance of national sovereignty while criticizing sanctions, which China sees as imposed unilaterally on Russia, as well as bloc confrontation. Now, the initial response and reaction has been reserved, I would say, leaning a bit negative. For example, NATO's Secretary General pointed out that it doesn't include a condemnation of the invasion. The EU ambassador to China here welcomed it, but said that it did not name an aggressor. And then the Ukraine charge d'affaires also was asked today about China's attempt at appearing neutral on Ukraine and responded that China talks with Russia, but not yet Ukraine.
You may have had trouble finding some pre-made salads at the grocery store lately, and there's a reason for that. Dole says it had to temporarily shut down all production plants in North America 2 weeks ago due to a ransomware attack.
Now, guys, we have China calls for a ceasefire, just like how the United States used to do. Remember, the United States always came in and acted like the peacemaker, all along positioning ourselves for war. And guys, we can easily look at the military spending that's going on to tell what's about to happen. And remember, guys, in the fourth industrial revolution, it's no longer a physical war. They're all cyber wars. Now, today, the United States put on more sanctions on Russia. And remember, I did a video last year showing you back in 2014, Russia was prepared for any sanction the United States gave. And we already know the BRICS nations are winging themselves off of the dollar. So while the masses sleep, guys, we're witnessing the fall of America to Babylon right along with the United States world reserve currency and the rise of China with that digital yuan backed by that digital SDR. And remember, the crypto teacher told you and wrote about it a long time ago because he knew when it came to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
Crypto Teacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance, Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.